So this is the website redesign project, the second project in module 1. You will first have to identify a poorly designed website. I suggest looking to local plumbing, lawyers, auto dealerships, skate shops, bowling alleys, anything that you would consider a mom and pop or locally run business is a good opportunity for a redesign. These businesses tend to have much smaller budgets, and therefore they tend to not hire designers and then for that reason have fairly poorly designed websites. So identify one that is very bad. Don't identify a fairly bad website. It's going to be much easier if you look for a really, really bad source so that you can make lots of suggestions and redesigns. Once you do have your website, you're going to also want to identify an easy to use website generator. Look to Wix, Weebly, any free app, and there's many. Just pick one that you like and that's easy to use, and I will guarantee it'll help you redesign their website better. So take a screenshot of their homepage for me. That's the primary thing that I think we should be discussing in your redesign. So the first half of your writing should talk about what's bad about the website. So here's Zinn's Plumbing. This is the entire front homepage. We can talk about several terms right off the bat, and you might even just begin your introduction with introducing me to the terms that you will be discussing and then break those terms down. So in this one, we'll be discussing iconic representation, mapping, Gutenberg's diagram, poor proximity, and we can also talk about horror vacui to some degree and a little bit of signal to noise. So with the introduction here, the description of the original website, I'm going to talk about their lack of iconic representation. There's a strong reliance on text over image and image superiority, which it might not be in module 1, but it is a very strong principle is at play in these websites. Image is the fastest way to tell the viewer a tremendous amount of information, and you want to grab that viewer's information immediately, and text does not do that. Text is slow. So the high reliance on text is a poor choice. The high reliance on a high contrast white background to black text is also an extremely bad choice. High contrast is actually very hard on your eyes and is difficult it makes reading difficult, it makes it not enjoyable, and it's also a waste of the ground space. So even on your laptops, right, you have these great images that tell a story about you maybe, about what your likes and dislikes are. This tells us nothing. So once again, a problem with iconic representation. I also have a problem with their logo design. The Z is nice that it connects through and has a plumbing element, but it is also difficult to see that iconic element because the red is overtaking. I don't see the benefit of red effect here. Red effect talks about passion, sexuality, dominance, or it can be of a good threat detection, or it has some symbolic reference. In any of those cases, I don't see how red is having any connection to plumbing. I think of water. I think of tools that you would use for plumbing. I would think about the pipes. None of this is red. So this is a poor iconic choice. It's not referencing to the audience's expectations of plumbing. So I think this is a very bad choice for them. I think it's reading as a kind of threatening. It's not utilizing Gutenberg's diagram well. Everything is centrally located, aligned in the middle, densely packed, with close proximity, making it difficult to discern where some information begins and where maybe layering information is, meaning buttons that will take me to more important information. So it also lacks progressive layers or progressive disclosure. So there is a home button, but it's in the worst area of Gutenberg's diagram in the lower left. It should at least be in the terminal area in the lower right. Even better, it should be mapped in a way that we are familiar with websites, which is often mapping in the top toolbar, where we are accustomed to looking for buttons that take us to more information, or left. And in this way, it's not using any of those things. The emptiness of the white space is also, we could talk a little bit about horror vacui, the fear of empty spaces, and that principle has two outcomes. When information is tightly packed and overused, the way that the information is in the center, this gives this impression to your audience of a cheap product. So this is often most noticeable, in my opinion, on local delis, corner shops, where the front windows are packed with advertising and text. This gives the impression of a cheap shop, which in the case of a corner shop is actually positive. You want a cheap, affordable corner shop. In the case of a plumbing service, this is probably not the best way to go about indicating quality. So this has a cheapness to it because of this packed space in the center. The next bit, you're going to want to show me your redesign. I just did mine in Photoshop, which is fine as well. Or like I said, Wix, Weebly, and these free website design apps are really easy to use, and they automatically help you make good design choices. So I've used their icon and I've placed it in a better place according to Gutenberg's diagram. I've placed it in the upper left, which is our typical starting point for particularly websites in Western design. I've assigned it and aligned it to the top toolbar, which is a very common mapping that most websites or many websites use. So this is now making finding the buttons much easier. And the buttons are also there now to progressively disclose information into layers instead of trying to show me everything on one page. Now, if I want information about services, I can just go to services, and I'm not overwhelming the audience with too much information on the front page, particularly information that you may not want initially. I have relied better on images to tell the story of what Zins is. So now, without having to read that this is a plumbing shop, you should instantly know that I am advertising for plumbing. So don't leave empty space. Use the background or the wallpaper to tell the story of your product, right? I've limited my color scheme to a very basic black, white, gray, and red. So I'm using extremely functional colors that kind of refer back to the colors that are associated with plumbing. I reference hands over faces. So in this way, we could talk about facism. In facism, when you concentrate on the body, the issues of the body are referenced. We're not talking about their personality in this redo. We're not selling their psychology. We're not selling their emotional state. We're selling their ability to manually service your house. So I'm concentrating on the body because that's what their service is about. I've also utilized their logo and their motto here. We respect your budget, time, and home. So I've used this little bit of information I found on their first page to generate my choices here, where the budget, the time, and the home are how I've decided on color, pictures, okay, and what I'm referencing in this page. I also talk about things that I would like to improve on in my own design. So do not try to sell me or your peers that you have created a perfect design. You haven't had enough time to create a perfect design. So use this opportunity to critique yourself. For instance, I have not used my terminal area very well. And I discuss in my writing that in a future design, I think I would place my, my Twitter account, Instagram account, and my Facebook account, my social campaign buttons here in the lower right, maybe, so that the viewer or the audience could get a more personal point of view on this product through those, and I would also be using my terminal area better. So please critique your own design. It will tell me more about the terminology, which is really the aim of these projects, right? Is for you to tell me that you understand what the term does and how it affects your perception. So once again, I just have to reiterate, it's not enough to identify the terms. You have to tell me how it is working, which means looking to the definitions and in your description, using those definitions and the effects on the audience. That should be enough to get you guys started. I hope that was helpful. Good luck with your redesign.